An outsourced marketing team, you wouldn't have them answering your phones. So don't have your outsourced marketing team answering any kind of social media, any kind of reputation management. That has to come from you. Welcome back to Sidewalk Talk. On this episode, we're going to discuss your marketing department and the differences between marketing and customer service. And in conversations, actually, this started at the end of the last episode. We started discussing this, but it's been an offline conversation that we've had quite a bit as a team, and we found that many of our customers seem to get the two mixed up between what is marketing and what is customer service and who should be responsible for customer service. And and in particular with us being outsourced, we don't think it's always it's pretty much never a good idea for us to be in charge of customer service. I'm going to throw it over to Jamie because Jamie's pretty passionate about this in our offline conversation. So why don't you pick it up from there, Jamie?
For sure. Yeah. I would say that it kind of came from the discussions of like, should we respond to Google reviews or questions and things like that? And the short answer is no, because we're not the experts within that business. Our role is to maintain their reputation and figure out what is good and what's bad for the brand. So you definitely should have a customer service team that's dedicated to answering those phones, for the questions, uh, responding to those reviews, responding to those Facebook posts, whatever sort of social media that you're using. It really should come from the inside because as an outsourced marketing team, again, we're observing from afar. We're outside. We're not on the inside. So there's a big difference between the two.
I think that's a good, I think your number one point is, yeah, we let's just say that we refresh that company's brand. Okay. It doesn't mean we know the ins and outs of everything that's going on. We may not know, okay, maybe there is a call coming in and it's we don't know who's the right salesperson for that particular lead. Right? So, and generally they're not asking us to answer the phones. Where this comes from is answering social media questions. You should not have your outsourced marketing team answering your social media questions. And I get it. People are like, oh, it takes so much time. Well, for you have people interested in your product or service and they're asking questions or they're filing complaints and it's public or they're giving you a compliment. You have to answer those. And so I understand that it's time consuming, but I always think back to, and I don't know what it was like when the phone was invented and suddenly businesses had phones and consumers and customers had phones. And so instead of writing a letter to the business, they said, well, I'll make a phone call. I have a complaint. I have a compliment. I have a question. And so I call the business. And I'm assuming, I don't know, at the beginning, were they like, oh my God, this phone thing is a pain. And we need someone to answer the phone. Maybe our marketing team can answer the phone. I mean, the best person to answer those questions would be you because you know the ins and outs. So, and if it's not you, the business owner or whatever, the operations manager, it's your customer service team or however you have it organized. I realize not every small business has an entire customer service unit, but whoever's in charge of customer service, you guys have to figure out a way to answer any kind of social media. The answers should not come from an outsourced marketing team. Now, somebody on the internal marketing side might be a good candidate to be focused on your any kind of social media questions, comments, any kind of suggestions coming in. Now, say there's a complaint. Now, the difference between a phone call from 100 years ago or 20 years ago, a phone call from a complaint from a customer to a business is it was really between the two of you and anyone else outside that they went and told. It wasn't a public complaint unless they made it public with their neighbors or their friends. But this is really public because there's people that can see that complaint that may not be their neighbor or friend. It could be anybody that sees it. So you may want to consult your marketing team, your outside marketing team, on answering this negative comment or question in the proper way, right? I mean, so we're not saying never have them involved. The lead on any kind of social media response should be from you.
Totally agree. And it's a good time to have a friendly reminder for everybody that no response is still a response. So don't go ahead and not answer comments, whether they're
Mhm.
complaints or good things, or even if it was just a 4 or 5 star, reaction on Google reviews. It highly recommended to respond to your customers or your potential customers. It also shows that you care. People are very quick to present negative things in reviews, more so the good. Um, so it's especially important to, if not have an answer, at least respond and take it offline. So if you don't know how to answer it publicly, hey, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We'll reach out to you. Can you give us your email? Whatever it may be, take that offline, and you will make them more than likely your number one customer if you take that time to at least figure out what their problem is instead of relying on somebody else like an outside marketing team to come up with some sort of generic response.
And with phones, there's prank phone calls, right? I was guilty of that many times as a kid before caller ID, and then with social media, there would be trolls. So that is a problem, right? And you have to, how do you, separate when it's at one, when there's somebody that's just, how do you recognize the difference between when it's a troll and what do you do about it versus that's difficult. And I do think that's when a marketing team, or if you have a PR person, that would be a good time to consult someone, right?
I would agree. I mean, it's
Usually you
very
just
hard to
delete it,
tell.
right? If it's a troll, you delete it. But
Yeah. It's tough though, right? I mean, the signs would be obviously if they don't have like a picture, if it's a made up name,
mm,
and you go through their history and all their comments are just negative things that are, it's just this cycle, this pattern that you recognize, you can assume that's a troll. But I think it's probably smart not to assume unless this person or troll is continuously doing this, or like I said, going through their history. If it's like a one-off thing, then you never know. It's really hard to tell to just look right off the bat. So, I would treat it as a customer, but once you respond and you still get that trollish, response back to that, then it's like, okay, well, it might be time to block them.
I have helped out clients where I'll see, whatever, say there's, because to your point, no answer is not good. That's
Right.
right. And so, part of our job is to make sure we're on this, right? Hey, mate, let's make sure we're answering any kind of questions because, like, not answering the phone. I mean, that's just the way it is. A lot of times, that's how people communicate. I'm going to communicate to this company via Facebook or whatever social media channel is. I'm just going to communicate with you, so you have to answer it. So sometimes part of our job is to go in and just say, hey guys, there's 15 questions in here, comments. Sorry we missed it for the last week. We got to get back to these people. That's bad. But really, they should be looking maybe at the end of every day or whatever and check it out. Have some kind of protocol process in place. But I have gone through, and when I've seen, what are just, it's like it's a waste. It's going to be a waste of their time. I can tell it's a big one now is in your inbox. A lot of businesses might be saying this, where it's like your account is going to be in Facebook. Your account is going to be deleted because of X, Y, and Z. And every single one of our clients, we've gotten it. And you just go in and as an outsourced marketing team, we can certainly help them out and delete those. It's a waste of anyone's time. But what I like to do, and your internal marketing director could do this, or in setting it up for whoever's in charge of answers, is tee it up, say, okay, there's four in here, you know, answer these four. And another good thing is on when there's a big complaint, what is always good to do is if you have that, call them. You could always respond, hey, thank you for your, we never get into most people know now, you don't get into an online fight. You know, it's thank you for your comment, whatever it is. I will message you, direct message you, or, if I have your phone number, whatever, is it okay if I call you and we can discuss this? Because you could turn that negative into a positive. I think about also, reputation management or complaints or the beginning of reputation management. Actually, what were they called when in the newspapers before your guys? Letter to the editor, right?
Oh,
So before we had the social media, and you wanted your opinion known, you'd write a letter to the editor, the newspaper editor, um, and it would say whatever. You could have a political opinion or opinion on something. Um, but I remember this is many years ago when I was a sportscaster in Ohio, and I guess this would be reputation management. There was somebody that wrote a letter to the editor, took their time and wrote a letter to the editor and just ripped me, just hated everything about me and what I did as a sportscaster. Just I remember it had to do with Dan Marino too. So I don't know if I think I said something good about Dan Marino, and he was probably a Bernie fan, Bernie Kosar, which I was a huge fan of Bernie Kosar too. Um, but but he just ripped everything, Steve Fortunato does this as a sportscaster, doesn't know what he's talking about. He's terrible at this. It listed, I mean, it was long. I stink at this. I did this. I did this on this sportscast. I did this on this one. I said this on this. I said this one or this. And he doesn't know what he's talking about. It was very, very long and very detailed. And so I'm in my 20s. And my first reaction, right, would be like, as a if like a reaction what we've seen of our clients, of business owners, when someone says something publicly, like, what the, for me, I had worked. My whole dream as a kid, all I wanted to be is fourth grade as a sportscaster. I was living my dream. I worked. That's all I cared about. And I'm like, damn. And he was kind of right. I mean, I don't think I was that good, but I worked really hard. I'm like, this is my livelihood, and you're going to sit here and you're going to rip me just like a business owner would when someone does that does that publicly. So at first I was like, oh shit, what should I do here? But then I thought about it. And so I decided I got to calm down, but I need to respond to this letter to the editor. So I wrote a letter to the editor. And mine was in response to Mr. Smith's letter to the editor dated blah, 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 1990, whatever. And I, word for word, repeated, uh, 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 rewrote everything he had written about me, about how bad. And his entire letter to the editor, I put in there as a comment. So again, I ripped on myself, the whole thing. And then my response to that, dear Mr. Smith, thanks for watching. And that was the whole thing, so that was kind of my brand too.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
And,
Oh, that's
so,
great.
but that reminds me of current day reputation management, but now it's instantaneous. So
Yes.
I was angry at the beginning when I read, I'm like, I mean, come on, man. And I'm in my 20s, and had I had the ability, maybe I would have just said, Sticky, you try going live on television
Mm.
with a producer talking in your ear. You try all that shit. You do this. You try studying and going through this and putting on makeup, and you try going live. And thank God I couldn't. It didn't exist. So by the time I calmed down, I was able to write my letter to the newspaper. Even called me and said, because they call anyone when you write a letter to the editor to confirm, is this you? Did you write this? And is this, and the guy's like, you really want us to use this? I'm like, go for it. He's like, they loved it. They loved it
Nice.
because I had nothing to say. So that was my reputation management. Was I'm going to be calm about this. And I realize the positive. This guy watches everything I do. Thanks for watching, man. Thanks
Yeah.
for watching. So it's the same
Paying
idea. Like,
attention.
thanks for using you don't need to be a wise guy like I was on that, but it was part of my brand, what I could do. So I'm not suggesting businesses are wise guys in reputation management, but what I'm suggesting is you take a deep breath. And I was allowed that because you had to write the letter, you had to take the time, you had to, so I was able to calm down and then decide what was the best approach. And anytime there's that negative, you got to if you're one of those, you throw the phone away, tell someone to take your phone away, don't have access to it or whatever, relax, and then come up with a plan of how you're going to respond. And you never want to get into that battle. So
Yeah, great point about the importance of calming down and not coming up with an emotional response.
yeah.
And this is where having an outside marketing team would really help with reputation management, where it's like, okay, hey, here's my response from Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner. What do you think of this? And then we can kind of just look from a different view and be like, hey, this is a little too emotional. This is showing a little frustration, or hey, this is good to go. Because having that second opinion would be great, because you know what? Once you put something online, it's there forever. At
Yeah.
least with the letter, Steve, they could rip it up, or whatever. It could be damaged. Once it's online, it's forever. You got one shot. So you're very smart to ask your marketing team, or any just a second opinion in general before you have that emotional response, because it stinks when people come at you. It's hard not to take it personal. You don't know what that person may have went through throughout the day, and they're just letting that business have it. It was the last straw. Um, but we got to come at this strategic and realize that we're dealing with people, and people are unpredictable, and they are quick to respond emotionally. So
So I think the takeaway here in this discussion is a couple of things. Make sure you have someone or a team or whatever it is that is taking a look. They are your customer service people. You wouldn't allow outsiders to answer your phones. Don't allow outsiders to answer any kind of questions, anything on social media. You have to do it yourself, or someone on your team has to do it. Whatever the assignment is, make sure the answering of any kind of social media comes from internal, inside the business. Do not outsource that. You have an outsourced marketing team, that's fine. They can handle marketing situations. Don't have them answer questions that should be answered by you, just like you wouldn't have them answering your phones and directing the calls. So this has to be done by you, the business owner, or whoever it is assigned to internally. And that can be somebody in marketing, whatever it is, if you're that small of a business. But just number one, don't have outside people answer your social media questions or respond to anything, any negative or any positive comments. Do it yourself. And to what you said earlier, Jamie, you can also customize that. Someone makes a positive comment, thank them for it, and then maybe give an example of what you were, I don't know, without specifics. Obviously, you can't if it's healthcare. You can't get into any kind of details, but we heat wave heating and cooling, the client of ours, and they get a lot of comments, and 99.9% of them are very positive. And Robin, the owner, makes sure she answers them, and sometimes with specifics like, thank you, Mr. Jones, and then maybe like, hoping you really enjoy your new furnace this winter. Like, I know it was a furnace. I know who she's acknowledging. I know who you are. Yes, we have a lot of customers, but you're very, very important to us. Also, you use terminology in there, and and when it's like a Google review, that's going to help your SEO. There's nothing wrong with that
yeah,
either.
true,
So,
true. Yeah, they
um,
they they have it on a whole nother level. If businesses could strive to get to that level,
mm,
for a business owner to take time out of their day to
yeah,
respond to each comment. And she's passionate about, she's not doing this just for the sake of responding. She actually enjoys this. So if a business owner can get to that level, it will make all the world of a difference. And it's so much better than just that generic response that you can scroll through and see, oh, okay, they said this, that. Whereas Robin is literally going into the specifics, and she knows her business, right? This is not an outside person talking and responding. It's coming from her. Very powerful. If all businesses could do that, they should take notes and learn from Robin for sure.
I agree. But the why behind you said she actually enjoys responding, and she does. And and there's a couple reasons. Number one is, I mean, it makes her feel good. It's the first thing she looks at in the morning, unless she gets behind or whatever a couple days out, and sometimes it's a reminder. But she will She likes to look first thing in the morning because she likes to read the good things about her business because that is her life and her passion. And but she also loves it because someone will say, what a great job. They might not even mention the service tech's name, but a lot of times they will. Jake did a great job. Rob was awesome. Tess was incredible. Anna was whatever it is. And then she wants to show them that.
Mm.
She'll show them, hey, look, congrats, thank you. Thank you for the great customer service you provided these people. And she wants them to know that their customers yesterday or the day before really appreciated their work and the way they were treated or whatever it was and cleaned up. So yeah, she does really enjoy it, and she's got a reason behind it. Just passion for the business, the passion for what they do. And we always talk about heat wave heating and cooling. We say they're a customer service company that also happens to be really good at HVAC, residential HVAC. And it's because that's their priorities. We're going into people's homes, right? So then when you have that philosophy of, you know, great customer service, that's also going to do what? It's going to help your reputation management. And then when you respond to comments, and if there's any questions, very rarely they get anything negative. And when they do, it really bothers her, and it should, but hands off the keyboard, figure it out, call the customer, work it out, figure out something. If we did something wrong, we got to fix it. I mean, they're not going to let anything go. But it all turns into great reputation management too, because she's doing it herself. I wouldn't know what equipment they put in that person's house in West Seneca, New York or whatever, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it needs to come from the inside. And I'll just say this, we're also not saying that you shouldn't have customer service outsourced. There are companies out there that have specific teams that are trained that handle the sort of volume. They may be bigger companies, but the difference is they're trained in that. They know what to respond to. They know about the service. They know about the product. Whereas a marketing team may not know every single thing when it comes to the business and how things work from a specific standpoint. So we're not saying that don't outsource. It's just the fact that your marketing team is not your customer service team.
Exactly. So one more time, an outsourced marketing team, you wouldn't have them answering your phones. So don't have your outsourced marketing team answering any kind of social media, any kind of reputation management. That has to come from you on the inside of your business.
The
Let's
number one
go.
customer representative.
Oh, Tim's still going.
Business owner. I just want to let everyone know I completely disagree with everything they've just said. No, but in my opinion, the number one customer service representative is the business owner. Like if they respond, then your message got through. But also, in my opinion, people want to just react. And if they get a reaction from their reaction, they're a lot more like, oh, well, I guess it wasn't that bad. Like people just want to just vomit out complaints and stuff like that. And if people take the time to address those complaints, I guarantee you that person will walk back what they said 9 times out of 10, because people just fish for responses. And if you get a response from the business owner, they'll walk, like I said, they will walk that back 9 times out of 10 because people like to just react. And if they get a reaction, I mean, I don't know. It's just, I think that business owners sometimes need to realize that what they say holds so much more power than what, one of their employees can say.